Welcome to the Marvelous Moms Club podcast. Discover yourself, break out of mediocrity, and become the mom you've always aspired to be. Here's your host, Kirsten Tyrell.
Hello, Marvelous Moms Club. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I am joined by Becky of Whippy Cake. You may have heard of her if you are a big YouTube watcher or Instagram follower. She's amazing, and she has a beautiful message this year and does a lot of awesome things in cyberspace. So without further ado, welcome to the podcast, Becky.
Well, hello. How's it going?
It's great. I'm so happy to have you here. And I want to preface this and let everybody else know kind of what we were talking about a minute ago. I first saw Becky on Periscope, my favorite social media app of all time. And she was talking about how she's putting limits on herself and learning to say no more this year instead of saying yes to everything. Mm-hmm. So actually making me kind of nervous to reach out to you because I'm like, well, I don't want to be one more thing that stresses her out. But I felt like that message needed to be shared, in more places than just Periscope. So yeah. But I wanted to commend you because you did not just say, yeah, let me do it tomorrow. You were like, you know what? Let me do it in 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of one of the things I was afraid of is by putting it out there like, hey, I'm saying no to things. And everybody's just like, okay, well, I might as well not even approach her because she'll say no. And I definitely don't want to put the vibe out there like I'm not approachable. But, I always tell people like my philosophy is I approach people because the worst thing that they could do is say no. Mm-hmm. And if they say no, I understand because I totally get it because we're all just trying to, navigate through the world of chaos and all the to-dos and family life and work life and all that. And so when somebody needs to say no, I respect it and I understand it. And I just hope that people kind of do the same. That was, it's why I have always been a yes person because I care so deeply about what people think and wanting to help and, be generous with my time and whatnot. But it does get to a point where it can totally overwhelm and be harmful, to yourself or to your family or and whatnot. I'm sure we'll talk more about that later, but I always appreciate, when people are very understanding when I do need to say no. So, or put things off for 2 months, either way.
Hey, we're just happy to have you when we have you because we think you're awesome.
Or
I think you're awesome. I guess the we would be everybody listening, but it's pretty much me. So tell me about your family and your life as a mom, how many kids you have and what kind of like your daily grind is like.
Okay, so I am a mom and I'm married to my husband, Brett. We've been married. We're coming up on our 10-year anniversary, which is super crazy. Makes me feel old, but also very I don't want to say proud, but I feel like 10 years is a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
And we do have 4 kids and they are 8 years. My oldest son is 8 and he's my only son. And then I have London who's 7 and then Dempsey, who's 4, and then Ivory is our 2-year-old. She's our baby.
Oh, so fun. I love those names too.
Oh, thank you.
That's a good accomplishment. 10 years. I'm proud that we've made it to 8 years. Not like, oh, we made it. We barely made it. But it's just like, wow. Do you remember being like a newlywed and thinking, oh my gosh, 10 years?
Yes, so definitely. Long. I think like I love looking back and seeing like the first year I feel like was like really difficult because they're just trying to find a new way to live, not being independent anymore and compromise so much compromise. And then I feel like I don't know, we got into like a way, like a habit of living. And then, I'm sure we shook things up in there. I don't know. I just feel like marriage is a nice little cycle of things are going really well, things are really difficult. And then through the difficulties, it's like finding a way to like come back together even stronger and like finding new ways to be unified and to keep at it.
Yeah, that's so true. That's awesome. And you guys have stayed busy with 4 kids. That's super cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So tell me about Whippy Cake and how that started, how long ago that started, and how that's kind of played a role in your life now.
Whippy Cake is definitely an interesting tale because I started around the time I had my first child and I'm a doer. I have to be doing stuff and like experimenting and trying new things. And so I wasn't working anymore or doing hair or doing anything. I just had this new baby. And, anybody who has a baby, they know that they take up a lot of time and energy, but I still felt like I needed to be doing something. And so I got started just making stuff, like crafting. I come from like a really, really, really crafty, artistic family. My mom is always teaching us to do things since I was little. And so I started making baby stuff and pretty much anything and everything you could think of. Lots and lots of dorky stuff. And I remember, like, my husband loves this story because he's an accountant, but he came to me one day and he's like, "Okay, listen, I don't know who Michaels is or his friend Joanne, but I'm sick of them taking all my money." He thinks he's so clever with that story. But so basically, he gave me like a very loving ultimatum, like, "Hey, you either need to like start selling some of this stuff to like pay for your craft supplies, or you like gotta chill out." And so I just kind of started peddling my wares to like friends and neighbors, and then I got on Etsy, and then by the time I had my second child, which was my daughter, I started making her these headbands. And I mean, like, the baby stuff, like, seriously, I made baby stuff. I made little Twilight t-shirts and jewelry, like, so dorky and so embarrassing. And one of the very, very first things, in fact, this is where the namesake Whippy Cake comes from. I made these like cupcake charms out of polymer clay, like hand rolled them and everything.
Wow.
And baked them in the oven. And instead of calling them cupcakes, I called them Whippy Cakes. And I only made those for like a month or couple months. And then I, started moving into other stuff. But I was like, oh no, I have like 30 followers now. I can't change my name now to recognize. So, but yeah, the headbands, like when London came along and the headbands came around, like they totally overshadowed and took over my whole life. And so I probably spent like 3 years making headbands, and like it just blew up bigger than I ever had anticipated. I mean, if you think about it, I didn't ever say like, oh, I want to start my own business or my own blog or anything. It was just like, I'm going to do this to kind of pay for my little crafting habit. And it just kept evolving and evolving. So I had to keep evolving and growing. And I just got to the point, like when the headbands got really big, and I apologize for the very long answer, but
no, I love it.
The headbands kind of became this monster. I had like 13 seamstresses, and I mean, the shipping was out of control. We were shipping hundreds of packages every week, and it became this like I said, monster that I was having to work on. And at the same time, I was being approached to speak at conferences, and I was styling photo shoots for other companies who had kind of liked what I was doing with my own photo shoots and headbands. And, I was just felt like I was being divided. And not to mention, like, I had 2 kids at this point, and I think by the time I actually decided not to do headbands anymore, I had my 3rd daughter, Dempsey, and it came down to, what am I passionate about? What do I believe in? And what is important to me? Like, why am I here? What's my purpose in life? And while making headbands is wildly successful and, I was making lots of money, it wasn't what got me out of bed every day. It wasn't what I felt like my life's purpose was meant to be, or I didn't feel like I was like changing lives and making a difference. And so I kind of made this super duper scary decision to close up my shop, my website, as far as like selling handmade items. And I just went into complete like blogging and consulting and styling. And so, it was like a really scary time. But I mean, when that happened, I think that was like 2013. And I was just kind of like holding my breath, like, oh no, what's going to happen? But I just kept getting, consulting jobs and speaking gigs. And I mean, I thought I was going to have crickets and have a hard time transitioning, but it was like crazy. I mean, one thing after another. And so
that's so cool.
Here I am.
I love that story because I especially love that you said, I didn't really set out to be a business owner or any of this. You were just like, I just want to support my crafting habit.
Right.
I think that's so fun because that's how a lot of successful businesses start out. You start with something that you're passionate about and that you have fun doing. And then it somehow turns into something that gets way bigger than you ever thought it would be. Yeah. And somehow you're all of a sudden like a mompreneur and you're working and it's just crazy. So that's really cool. I love that you gave the entire story because I'm sure people want to know where Whippy Cake came from, people who may not have followed you from the start. Yeah. So that's awesome.
Everybody always wants to know where the name comes from because obviously, like, I mean, if you go to my blog, it's primarily like styling, so hair, makeup, wardrobe. And then, I find it really important to include like a lot of personal development and like self-help content.
Mm-hmm.
None of that has anything to do with Whippy Cake. So I'm just like, I'm just going to clear the air right now. Like, I don't do cupcakes or any kind of baking. So let's get that disappointment out of the way. But people
It's
call me Whippy
still,
Cake.
though.
And so now it's just like a nickname. It's like, that's
Yeah.
where it comes. The short story is Whippy Cake is my nickname. So.
Okay. Yeah. And I think it suits you too. I really like it. I can't explain why, but it does.
Thank you.
That's so cool. Okay. So now you have 4 children
Mhm.
and you had kind of a crazy year last year, which I want you to talk a little bit about because that's kind of what I first heard you say when I got to know you online.
Mhm.
Because while you didn't set out to do this, you came on at such a great ideal time, I think, and you were doing such awesome work that you became, without really realizing it, an influencer on social media. And now you have even like, like your YouTube videos where you're doing hairstyling and makeup styling and everything like that. And you never in the beginning started out to do that, but it just kind of falls in line with who you are and what you're passionate about right now. So
Mhm.
tell me about when you kind of realized you were doing too much, because I feel like a lot of moms can get to that point where you reach burnout. I feel like
Mhm.
I'm almost there. So even just speak to me as a fellow mompreneur.
Mhm.
How did you know you'd hit your limit, and kind of what was last year like for you?
Well, last year, like I said, it was wildly adventurous. I can't believe how many things I was able to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's interesting because I did more in 2015 than I had ever done in any prior year. But I ended the year feeling like the biggest failure I'd ever felt like. So I'm like,
Really?
something is wrong here.
Yeah.
And so I think because I was just feeling so discouraged, like, okay, I did all of that and I still am not where I want to be. What's the problem here? And the first thing I had to do was, take one of my own advice, which is like have a to-do list. And this is something I blogged about. Every year I pick a word to be like my motto for the year. And I believe in 2014, my word was ta-da. And it's because I specifically, and I know a lot of women are really guilty of this, at the end of every day, I give myself the biggest guilt trip because of all of the things on my to-do list I didn't accomplish, and I completely ignore and forget about all the things I did accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to train myself to get in the habit of making a to-do list, which is like all the things that you do get done and that you do accomplish. And some days it's just like, I put on a bra, ta-da! And then other days, it says keeping your kids alive or spending time with them. And some days I'll just have like miracle days where I accomplish so much at work and home and everything, and I just feel like I'm on top of the world. But either way, keeping a to-do list all along the way, it helps keep things in perspective, and that, no day is wasted. If you get out of bed and you keep a positive attitude, or you decide that you're going to do better tomorrow, like you've done enough, And so I kind of made a to-do list of everything that I did for 2015, and I'm just like, holy smokes, like you are not a failure. You did so much.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, I was able to say like, okay, so if I'm able to, speak at like 12 different events, travel all over the US, work with huge companies, work on big campaigns with major brands, output like tons of videos and content, grow almost like double on YouTube. I mean, everything was just huge accomplishments that I was not like acknowledging, and still feeling like it wasn't enough. I kind of realized like it's not about doing everything and doing everything really well and working with everyone and going everywhere that's going to make you feel fulfilled and successful and whatnot, because I clearly didn't. I felt like I kind of realized it's about doing the most important things and what you feel like your divine purpose is, or what you're, like I was mentioning before, created to do. And I think a lot of the things that I did were really amazing and kind of exciting and thrilling. But at the same time, I feel like one of the reasons I stopped doing headbands is because I'm meant to help encourage and inspire other women specifically, and help them feel confident. And, some of the campaigns and the projects and stuff that I didn't do anything like that. If anything, working with major brands to do like big fancy videos, I think that sometimes often makes women feel the opposite, because they'll look at me and they'll be like, oh my gosh, she's flying to New York and working with this huge production team and doing these videos. And I'm not like that. And I mean, this big brand doesn't know who I am, and I don't have famous videos and this and that. And so they're doing the opposite of what I want them to do. They're comparing themselves to me. They're feeling worse or making themselves feel smaller because of something I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so I realized, okay, I got to start saying no to the things that seem exciting and thrilling so I can say yes to doing the things that actually build people up, teach them resourceful tools and exercises that they could do to feel better about themselves, whether it be like as simple as a hairstyle or, like a self-help video and that sort of thing. And so that is a very long version way of saying it's not about saying yes to everything. Just, there's going to always be opportunities that are exciting and fun, and they will be a good experience and an awesome, thing to say that you did, but will it put you one step closer to what your goal is or what your purpose in life is? Not necessarily. And it's having the, restraint and the self-discipline to say no to those opportunities and to turn down those jobs so that you do have the capacity to actually do what you were created to do or to lead in the way that you were intended to lead.
I love that story so much and have so many thoughts on that and so many feelings. I'll try and remember everything I was thinking as you were talking.
So long-winded.
No, that's exactly what I want you to be on here. This is the place for you to share all the details.
Okay.
Seriously though, I think it's super powerful and important that you recognize that what message do I want to be sending to these women? I'm an influencer among women. What do I want to send to them? Do I want to intimidate them or do I want to inspire them? And I feel like sometimes even within this podcast, I get stuck in the same rut of like, I want to share these amazing stories and these amazing women and their journeys, but I don't want it to be something that they're like, oh my gosh, but I could never do that. Or,
right.
Something that stops them from even trying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's cool and to acknowledge too that like that was part of your journey. You had to have a year like that and you had to have those exciting experiences to maybe realize that that's not the consistent life that you want to have, where it's like you deserve that. You worked really hard for those things.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it wasn't you living in your complete long-term purpose.
Right.
But you couldn't really live in your purpose if you hadn't done all that stuff too.
Right. Exactly.
It all goes together. It's all part of your story and part of you being the person that you are now and helps you share those beautiful messages, here and as you go speak and everything. So I love that it kind of comes full circle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really inspiring to me to see someone who's like, you know what, this is great. These were exciting experiences, but it's not really why I started out or what it's all about. It's just not. So
yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate you sharing that perspective. It's so cool. And so yeah, going back to this saying no, I don't know if you're a Brené Brown fan, are you?
Of course I am. Who hasn't read every single one of her books and watched every single TED Talk and YouTube video?
Seriously. So I figured, I'm like, she knows this is probably partly the reason that you're putting these boundaries up a little bit and that's something I've recently, I've been studying her only very recently with my husband and he's such a fan. Like he totally connects with everything because he's such a creative and loves everything she puts out. And I do too, but he just absorbs it and he understands it much better than I do. Some of her stuff goes over my head, but anyway, I recently saw an interview she did talking about that, about boundaries and how if you set proper boundaries, then people really don't disappoint you and they don't frustrate you and you don't ever have a reason to be angry with people.
Yeah.
So, you putting up that boundary for yourself of like, I can't do everything, then you don't have to be like frustrated at the end of the year when you're like, why did I do so much? Why am I so burned out? Because you're setting the boundary for yourself. So I think that's super cool.
I think that's from her Rising Strong book. And I love the stories that she talks about in that because she talks about getting asked to speak at this conference and she tried to say no and then they guilted her into saying yes. So she did it and then she felt resentful the whole time that she was doing it. And it ended up leading into this huge, like several months long of surveying people and whatnot. And I just know that I have done that so many times where I've said yes to people and then I'm frustrated with them for asking me to do stuff or, for not being as specific as I want them to in advance and whatnot. And that's just life. Like people, it's very interesting and very helpful for people to share their experiences like that because it kind of empowers you to say no. But it also helped me to kind of think, like she goes on to do this whole thing where she asks tons of people if she thinks that people are doing their very best. And it comes down to it that, I think what the answer was that everybody is doing their best. And when you think of situations like that, like this person's just doing their best, it helps you to not be as resentful or judgmental. But it helped me to kind of analyze, like, who do I know in my life who sets really strong boundaries or who says no all the time? And it was like she said, it was all the people I totally respect the most, people who are doing an amazing job, who are really successful, who don't seem to be struggling as much as I am. And I'm like, man, I love and adore these people. I respect them. They have said no to me. They say no to other people all the time. And I don't think any less of them. And I'm not resentful or harbor any bad feelings to them. And that brought a lot of peace to me because, like I said, that was one of the things I was worried about, was saying no all the time, is that people wouldn't like me or they would make assumptions that I'm too good or I'm, whatever.
You're a diva.
And yeah, the people that you need in your life, they will understand. And the people that don't understand, you don't need. And it's okay for them to think whatever they want to think, because that's on them and it's not on you. And giving yourself the permission to accept that, so like liberating, and it takes a lot of pressure off of you.
It's so true. Yeah. And I mean, it's a good example you're setting too among a whole slew of influencers too, where you feel like you have to be saying yes all the time or you're going to miss the boat or you're going to miss an opportunity. And honestly, so tell me how this year's going for you so far, because that's your mantra for the year.
Right. Well, I mean, it's definitely, I feel like it's still pretty early in the year. So have I mastered it? No, I'm not like super great at saying no to every single thing, but I can already see like in big growth and progress, and just like, I feel a lot less stressful. I feel a lot less busy, as in like, a lot of times when people are busy, they're busy doing nothing, and their busyness is getting them nowhere.
Right.
And at least I feel like now when I am busy, it's because I'm actually getting somewhere, and it's an intentional busy and not just a busy because I'm in a flurry of just basically like in defense mode where everything is coming at me. Through saying no, I'm able to like control what's coming at me and to anticipate things before it hits me. And that is helping big time. And I don't know, I feel a little bit more secure in myself and not needing everybody to approve of every decision, and kind of like what I was just saying, like understanding and getting more confident in the fact that people will still respect me if I say no, and the ones that don't are the people that I need to dismiss in my life.
Yeah.
And also I'm kind of realizing it's not always saying no to people, it's saying no to things too, and experiences and thoughts and whatnot. And I don't know if we're like right now is a perfect time to get into that, but there's definitely a lot of saying no to yourself too, and saying no to thoughts and habits that you do. And anyway, so I don't know if that's
you can get into it.
Okay, well, I warned you about being long-winded, but saying no to experiences, I really feel like is only half of it. It's not even the majority of it, because saying no to, like I said, habits and thought processes has been equally, if not more profound and like life-changing for me than anything else. And so what I mean by that, saying no to thoughts and to myself, I mean, just take the example of last year for myself. I mean, tactfully and like in terms of experiences and jobs and everything that I did, it was one of the most successful years I've had. But like I said, it ended up feeling like one of the biggest years of my life. So I'm having to tell myself no all the time. No, don't beat yourself up for that. No, stop making these extreme measurements of yourself. No, don't compare yourself to this and that. No, don't, give in to certain ideals and extremities that you are buying into. Say no to those, I guess. I don't want to say like what the world says anymore, because I feel, one, that's cliche. And also there's a lot of people in the world who are championing really good expectations and good boundaries. And so I'm not saying like say no to the world altogether, but we know that there's a lot of magazines and stereotypes and whatnot that we can say no to for sure.
Yeah.
Also say no to like bad relationships, people who bring you down. I see it so many times in working with women, talking to women, being a woman and having friends that are women and sisters and whatnot. There's so many people who are just tolerating relationships in their life. And I wish I could emphasize this as much as I like. It's such a huge thing to keep people in your life that are toxic, who are pushing you down, who are doubting you, who are causing self-doubt, who are ruining your self-worth, your self-confidence, all of that, all of those things are huge, huge obstacles in your way. They cloud, they distort, they confuse the real you, your real purpose, your real value. I get really emotional, but it is really sad to see other people have such power over people I care about and admire and look up to so much. And it's always, it's close friends, it's sisters, it's parents, it's husbands who are having these influences over women and moms. And really, I think if you have people in your life, it should only be people who see you for the potential that you have and who you can become, who treat you the way that you the potential that you are and the true worth that you really are, who encourage you, who get excited about your dreams and ideas. The more you can surround yourself with people like that, the more you are able to progress in life. And the more, I find that with myself, the more I'm really intentional about people and who I allow to be around me and in my close circles, the more happy I am, the more ambitious I am, the more resilient I am to get back up again when things are really hard. And I think that's probably why I get so emotional, is because I am now starting to recognize the value of being intentional about who you say yes to in your life. And by yes, I mean who you allow, because it's your decision. You get to decide who gets to be an influence on you and who can be, at a distance. I'm not saying go break up with everybody and tell them you're not allowed to talk to me anymore.
Yeah.
But, and also like taking it even one step more extreme than that, there is a lot of like power and growth for that person when you just not only like women tend to be very passive aggressive. We will avoid them rather than telling them, I'm intentionally keeping you out of my life or keeping you at a distance because you have this cause and effect on me.
Yeah.
And I think when you get the bravery and the courage to actually say that to somebody, you're giving them the opportunity to recognize that their behavior, there's something off and that there's something that maybe they can work on. When you're passive aggressive and you don't communicate to them the reasons, you're taking away an opportunity for them to grow. Granted, a lot of people, especially aggressive or negative people, they're the victim and they never do anything wrong. And so most likely they won't take it as like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to grow. But I think it's always worth the chance, for them to see, for it to be that moment, that aha moment where they're like, I need to make some changes.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that you went there. I really do. And I feel like that was divinely inspired because it's what I needed to hear. There's not a ton of friendships and relationships that I've had to let go. I maybe only like a couple, because I think I've always been really careful about the friends that I've chosen and people who don't make me feel amazing. I just don't make time for them.
Right.
But that's not saying that I haven't had those relationships and friendships. And something that's a challenge for me recently is seeing like, okay, there's a friendship that I've maybe had to kind of let fade to the dust a little bit because it wasn't making me my best self. And it wasn't because this person isn't still a good person, but then seeing another friend totally love and still, I feel like awkward even talking about this. I don't think they would ever even know, but like saying, oh, they're awesome, I totally love them. And I'm like, does that make me a bad person that I can't connect with them in that way, or that they make me feel that way? And I think it's saying no to yourself too. And having that boundary of knowing certain people just aren't going to resonate with you the way they might. They're not bad people. Yeah. And I think that's where I have struggled. It's like, she's not a bad person, or these aren't bad friends. They just, they're not like helping me to grow. And I need right now, that's what I need, is that support for growth. So
it really is difficult to see somebody that, either they rub you the wrong way or maybe they've hurt you really bad. And then to see them be somebody else's favorite person and you're just like, what am I missing? You instantly want to think that there's something wrong with you, that you don't get along with them, or that you see something completely different. And I just think of it like, I hope this doesn't sound too hippie, but we're all so different, right? But we're all made of the same things, And I think that, certain people who have more concentrations of sensitivity or emotion or, I don't know, like that's just an example. They tend to resonate more and tend to click more. And I mean, I can think of a group of girls that I just do not understand. I don't dislike them. I'm just, like it wouldn't be my first choice to, I guess, spend my free time with them. But then, like you said, I know other people that I am really close to that totally would rather go in that route in that group of girls. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And I have to tell myself, it doesn't mean that they're better than me. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. It just means, like you said, we're like, there's different chemistry and we're just attracted and drawn to different things. Mm-hmm. And I think instead of spending any time or energy worrying about it, festering, analyzing any of that, take all of that energy and put it into the relationships that do the most for you. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a spouse or best friends or whoever, the people who invest the most in you, that's where you should be investing your most emotional capacity into.
Yeah. Love it. Oh my gosh. I had no idea the direction we would go with this, but I really love where we've gone.
Oh, good.
I love the road we're on. It's been super fun.
Yay.
So you're a successful person. Anybody can see it. And we talked about this before we hit record, that most successful people are readers. And so I know you love Brené Brown, but tell me maybe what you're reading now or what your all-time favorite book is.
Oh, girl. Do we have 30 more minutes? No, I like to call myself two things: multi-passionate and like an infopreneur. Because one, like, and I used to think that this was what was wrong with me, and this is why I'm not more successful, but I can't seem to just stick with one thing. Like I'm not just a blogger, or I don't just do hair, I don't just do makeup, and I don't just do self-help or whatever. I've always like felt very strongly and like wanted to do everything, and I've been so stubborn about trying to do it all.
Me too. Oh my gosh, you're like, I love it. You're my soul sister, because I hear that all the time. Like, you need to stick to one thing. Stop trying to do it all. And I'm like, but I want to do it all.
I know. Well, and like when people say like a jack of all trades is an expert at none, and I'm just like, you know what? You can stick it, because I don't care. But I actually have an analogy. Like I do work with a lot of entrepreneurs and small businesses, and this is like an analogy I give to them and that I rarely follow, but I'll try and make it short. Your passion is like a shopping cart. And if your passion is one specific thing, let's say, in my case, let's say it's doing hair. So I have my one shopping cart. I'm easily able to navigate it, push it. I can go fast. I can go slow. I can turn corners rather easily. If something comes at me, I can get out of the way because I've just got my one shopping cart. Mm-hmm. Well, let's say I add another shopping cart that's makeup, or that's, beauty in general, skincare, all of that. So I can totally push I got two hands, I could push two carts. Sometimes they kind of clank into each other, and that's what happens, in my business. They kind of clash or they bump into each other. Sometimes I have to like get them both straight again. And, I basically have to come to a stop and get my bearings, and then I can start progressing again. And, it's harder to take turns. It's hard to get out of the way of obstacles and so on and so forth. And then you add another shopping cart. Well, I've only got two hands. I've got three shopping carts. I can push one a little bit. I could push another. I could push another. And I'm kind of having to go through the line and pushing a little bit. I mean, the more shopping carts you add, the slower you're going to get somewhere. And I just I have started to eliminate some of the shopping carts in my life, but I've also just become okay with the fact that I might not get anywhere super duper fast. I might not become this overnight sensation or blow up overnight. But I am making small progressions with the 3 shopping carts or 4 shopping carts that I'm the most passionate about. Mm-hmm. And other people, you'll see, like, they stick with one thing and they are able to just zip around with their one shopping cart, and they are dominating and whatnot with their one shopping cart. And that's okay for them. And I think it's just, there is no wrong or right way. Is just having a healthy expectation of what will happen. If you have more than one shopping cart, you will experience growth and progress and everything at a much slower rate versus the people who just have that one shopping cart. So.
Oh my gosh, I love that analogy so much. And I'm so weird, but I can smell Target right now. Like, thinking about
seriously, how did you know that was inspired by the Target shopping?
I don't know, because every woman, that's like everybody's favorite.
Yeah, it's a zen place. Well, the second thing that I was going to say is obviously the infopreneur thing. And I've become a very passionate reader, and not just in novels. In fact, I haven't even read like a novel or any type of fiction in probably like 2 years, because I've heard a couple of like quotes and stuff that just like jarred me. And so I'm afraid to like, not afraid, but just like every time I'm tempted to, get invested in a book or a new TV series or whatever is going to take several hours of my time, I have to ask myself, one, do I want to watch other people living their dreams and like living out fantasy, or do I want to go out and live my own dreams and my own fantasies? Because you typically can't have both.
Right.
And the second is that, information is power. And if you're not progressing, you're moving backwards. And so I just kind of made it a point, like anytime I do have an opportunity to either just be entertained and just be, or to push myself to learn and grow, I'm definitely going to try and push myself and learn and grow. But I'm not saying that I don't have times. Like there are times when I'm just like, hey, the best I can do right now is watch 4 episodes of Friends, because sometimes that's honestly what you do need. You do need to decompress and just be distracted and be, not thinking and overwhelmed. And other times, it's being able to like, I am so exhausted. I've just gone through so much today and I have so much more to get through tomorrow. But look how amazing I am by being disciplined and structured and an adult by choosing to read for 15 minutes or watch a TEDx talk or whatever it is. And so, and honestly, like the more I read, the more I discover myself and what I'm capable of and what my strengths and weaknesses are. I mean, it's really like a self-discovery in books. And so I have a handful of favorites if you want to hear them.
Yeah, please tell us.
Okay, since this is a mom podcast, I mean, I definitely have to go with The Child Whisperer from Carol Tuttle.
Okay.
This book is mind-blowing because, I mean, just as a person and understanding how humans are creative, but then also as a parent and understanding that all of your kids are different and they all need to be talked to and understood differently. And that sounds like common sense, but it really like, oh man, it's life-changing. And anybody and everybody, I mean, not even people with kids, just anybody that will listen to me, I will tell them to read that book, because understanding like your natural nature and just how you move and why you move is just life-changing, and understanding why you do things and what motivates you. And it also is very helpful in relationships, as couples and work relationships and friendships and kids. Very, very, very like crazy, crazy awesome.
Cool. I'm excited to read that one.
Yeah. Another really good book for just, moms and especially, any human alive with the heartbeat is a book called Hold Me Tight. And I believe it's Susan Johnson. Goodness, I can't believe I'm spacing the author, but it's the only Hold Me Tight book out there.
Okay.
And it's, I mean, very, 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 very profound. And I mean, it's been life-changing for me, especially in my relationship with my kids and with my husband. And the premise is that more than water, or just as much as we need water, sleep, food, air to live, we need human connection and emotional connection. And I read this book at a time when I was kind of just struggling with emotional relationships in my life. And my defense mechanism was to completely shut down emotionally. Like, feelings are you. I joke about it all the time. But what's interesting about feelings is, and emotions, is you can't just shut off one area of your feelings. Typically, when you harden yourself emotionally against, let's say, a spouse, you're also hardening your emotions as a mom. On a spiritual level, like I felt more disconnected than ever from God. And also I was not a sincere friend, sister, all of it. I was suffering across the board just because I was trying to stay protected in this one emotional relationship. And so when I read this book and I heard all these studies of, kids and everything, and just them basically dying from lack of emotional connection, I was just like mind altering for me.
Yeah.
And so I had to like bust, like for me, emotions are like a water balloon. Like I can't just prick a little hole and let some trickle out. Like if you poke me, my emotions will explode all over you. And so that was really hard because I had my emotions held up tight in my water balloon for so long that it was really painful for me to have those emotional, like volcano gushing, hemorrhaging of feelings for a while. But I feel like I'm a much better person after realizing that. And I make it, when I say emotional connection, I mean like physical touch is vital to people. And if you're a mom and you are struggling and you think that you're a bad mom, give your kid a hug, make eye contact with them, tell them that you love them, rub their arms. I mean, just give them physical nurturing as much as you can, and you are a better mom than 50% of the universe out there. Like, that's the number one best thing that you could do for them. And the book is fascinating because it talks about, the pros and cons, like the adverse effects to not getting emotional connection. I mean, we're talking addiction, suicide, drug addiction, sexual addiction, problems, on and on and on, from, people being denied emotional connection. And then the opposite, just from getting emotional connection and being told that you're loved or getting hugged on a daily basis, the confidence, the ability to learn at a higher rate, jobs, income potential, all of that is like exponentially increased just from being, having somebody in your life. And it doesn't always have to be a parent. It could be a friend. It could be an aunt. It could be a teacher at school. So I don't even just say like hug your own kids, like seek for opportunities to just make eye contact with any person alive, because you're never too old to like be revived with emotional nurturing. So
yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it.
I'm not even doing it justice. I'm just saying it's like really, really, and there's a lot of science in it too. And I love anytime that anything is backed up by science, I just get excited and geeked out because I feel like it's true. And then when it's proven that it's true scientifically, I'm like, yes. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Those are like really amazing, 2 super important mom books. And then as far as just life books and like entrepreneur, like just personal development books that have been totally life-changing for me, I'll have to say The Miracle Morning and The Happiness Advantage. And I know I've been talking for so much, so I won't get into like details on both of those, but unless you want me to, but they're really good.
I have encouraged Marvelous Moms Club. We tried doing book club in there, and Miracle Morning was my first choice because I feel like that's what totally rejuvenated my life and jump-started me on this entire path. Like this podcast wouldn't be here if not for the Miracle Morning. Right. So I got that one. They know about that one.
And it's like, it takes 4 hours to read it. I mean, and honestly,
so
like people will hear Miracle Morning and they're like, I'm not a morning person. Don't do it. People, I have 4 kids, and like a year ago, I didn't get out of bed until like 8:30, 9 o'clock every day. Like somehow my husband loved me enough. Like, I mean, I'm the opposite of a morning person. And this book will totally like take apart any kind of pre-assumptions that you have. And I mean, if you want to be an extraordinary person and you want an exceptional life, just read it, because it's making an investment in yourself and your future and your kids. So
yeah. Oh my gosh.
Way good.
I feel like you're living a parallel life to me, but you're a few years ahead as far as
my goodness.
as far as your business success. Everything you're saying, I'm just like, yes.
That too. More of that. Yes, please.
Gold. Oh my gosh. I love it. Okay. I feel like I could talk to you for hours and hours and it'd be totally fine. We'll have to have you on again. It's good. It's good. All of it's been great. Okay, so question of the hour. What makes you a marvelous mom?
See, what's interesting, I feel like about me as a mom is, I'm the youngest of 8 kids. Well, you don't know that, but I'm the youngest of 8 kids. I have a twin brother. We're the youngest. All my sisters started having babies when I was little, and I just felt like I was always around kids. And it was more of like an annoyance to me because I'd get into my stuff and I was a teenager and I was just so annoyed. So I never was like, I can't wait to grow up and have kids. And I just never, I don't know, like I have always felt so guilty because I have never had that mentality of like, I can't wait to be a mom and I can't wait, to play Play-Doh tomorrow. So and I still struggle with that because I have a lot to do. And like I said, I feel like I have this mission to change the world and whatnot. And sometimes it's easy to be convinced or to believe that the kids are like slowing me down or, causing a problem with that. And so that is a real true life daily struggle for me to like take off that perspective and say no to that way of thinking and realize like these kids are teaching me more than anything else in my life. And teaching them comes first, more than teaching and influencing other people. And so I feel like what makes me a marvelous mom is that I'm on a daily basis, as hard as it is against my natural way of thinking or my selfish way of thinking, you know, that I don't naturally think like I'm excited to be a mom or this is my calling in life. That every day when I wake up, I make a new commitment to myself that I'm going to, you know, make sure that I'm putting them first, make sure that I'm influencing them first, and making sure that I'm creating like contributing, talented, confident human beings who can go out there and make a difference in the world and not just be somebody else that somebody needs to help and fix and correct. I want them to be the ones that are helping and encouraging and motivating and inspiring and changing. And so I don't know. I'm not, the fact that I'm not very good at it, but I guess that I just refuse to give up at getting good at it.
That's awesome. I think you summed it up perfectly. And I totally know what you're trying to say. And I relate to that more than you could possibly know, even though I have this podcast geared towards motherhood and how marvelous it is. It does get to that point where it's like, it's maybe a little bit more innate for me because I'm the oldest and I grew up like raising my sisters. And but I still get where you're coming from, where it's like, sometimes this just feels like the mom stuff is in the way of doing the mom podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and that's honestly like what I wish I could share more than I do or more than I have the opportunity, because I mean, as an influencer, there's all eyes on you. And, you know, there's a certain level of expectation for everything to look a certain way and to have like, not the picture of perfection, but you know, like people want authenticity, but they also want things to look picture perfect. It's very, it's kind of a catch-22, and sometimes it often feels like it's not fair. But if there's anything that I could share, it's a lot of like what I talked about in that Periscope video. And that Periscope video is actually on my YouTube channel because so many people asked for it. Yeah. And so, I mean, it was totally embarrassing emotional breakdown, but I adored and appreciated how much people have been able to connect to it. And I mean, that message is just that it doesn't matter if you have 100 followers or 50,000. I struggle every single day, and I have fallen into the comparison loops. I have lazy days. I have insecure days. I have, powerhouse days. I only yelled at my kids all day today. I only yelled at my husband all day today. I mean, I have all the same days that you have. And there's nothing that's different or special about me that isn't already special and amazing about you. And I guess that's what I like to share or like remind people is I'm not important. I'm not anybody. I just happen to have a lot of followers. And I try to use that to show people that you are important. What you do is important. You are special. You're inspiring. Like all the people that follow me inspire me. I am their followers. It's like the tables are turned, and it just doesn't look that way sometimes. Yeah.
Well, now you've said it, so people have to believe it because it's true and it's on the podcast.
What is on the podcast shall be made known throughout the universe and the land.
It's true. It's official. This is official content, everybody.
Yea, verily, thus, amen.
I love it. You have been so awesome, Becky. I'm so glad that you made some time for us, and I'm super excited to share this. This will be an episode of Mompreneur Monday that will be so, so powerful. I'm super excited for everyone to hear everything because you gave so much good information, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's really good. It's a fun opportunity. I'm glad to be able to slow down and to just talk about what like sometimes we're always just trying to live. We're trying to do so much of how we're trying to live. And other times it's just good to have an opportunity to just sit down and actually live it instead of trying to say it. I don't know if that makes sense, but
I got what you said. I know exactly.
You feel me?
Yep. All right. Well, the rest of you guys have a fabulous day, and we will see you on the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Marvelous Moms, guess what? Today, Marvelous Moms Academy is officially live. You can go to marvelousmomsacademy.com and go register for the very first course, the 30-day reboot for Marvelous Moms. If you loved my chat with Whippy Cake today, you're going to love the course because so many of the fundamental principles that we talked about on today's interview are right there within the course for you to learn and implement within your own life. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see you guys over there and start teaching you and helping you grow past the levels of life that you're at right now to be even stronger and more marvelous, amazing moms. I'll see you over there at marvelousmomsacademy.com. Have a great day.